100% of the time, people are spending more than they think they're spending.
You're listening to Home Sellers Advantage. I'm your host, Aaron Zapata.
And I'm your other host, Todd Anderson. We are the Bald Brothers team at Impact Realty Group with Real Broker, and we are here to give you the Home Sellers Advantage.
You can find us online at www.baldbrothers.tv. Again, that's baldbrothers.tv.
Or you can call us at 833-305-BALD. That's 833-305-2253.
All right, welcome back to the show. Thank you so much for being here. If you are our faithful listeners, in fact, I have a shout out because just recently I started working as a leader in my church's youth group. And I told the freshman boys there that if they subscribe to our channel and if they listen to the podcast, that I'd give a shout out to them. So This is just a shout out to Flynn because he did it right there, like as I was watching. And he was like, super surprised that we had anything. So shout out to Flynn. If you're listening, congratulations. I told you I would.
I thought you were going to say that you offered to buy them pizza or something if they subscribed. So.
They just wanted a shout out.
Shout out. Hey, that's great.
Yeah. So
it doesn't cost us anything.
That's right. So, and before we get to Tim Smith, our guest today, we just want to say it's an honor and a privilege to work in and through our communities. Todd and I have been serving many different nonprofits and different things that we've been working through the year. And just before we started recording today's show, the Yorba Linda Chamber of Commerce came by the office here and they gave us a certificate, and they have awarded the Impact Realty Group the Business of the Month for the Yorba Linda Chamber of Commerce. And so we just got that award literally like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And just want to say thank you to the chamber. Also, thank you to the board members in the community. We love serving our communities, and it's a great honor to receive that. So just a little bit about ourselves and what we go through on a regular basis. And so with that, I want to introduce Tim Smith. Tim, welcome to our show today. Tell us a little bit about yourself, the name of your company, and what your specialty is. And then we're going to get into the nitty gritty.
Well, thanks for having me on today. I just, I passed Aaron on the sidewalk yesterday. He said, "Hey, here's a bald guy. Why don't you come on our podcast?" So I don't know if I had a full head of hair if I'd be here today.
Might not be, actually.
No, I'm kidding. Actually, no, I have spent some time with Aaron and just really admire what you guys have done. And it's so obvious that you're involved with your community, and just really like to align myself with people that are integrated and care about giving back to their communities. So I'm Tim Smith, and I started Fairway Asset Management back in 2007. Been a financial advisor for the last 27 years. Actually started with the big firms. I started at Merrill Lynch shortly after graduating college, and in 1997, after spending a couple of years in the family business, I wanted to really get into this business back since high school. Was interested in the stock market and investments. And after spending a couple of years in our family business, I decided to leave and enter this business, and went to work for Merrill Lynch, and then spent 10 years at big firms, Merrill, Smith Barney, and Wachovia, and really wanted to start my own company. So in 2007, went off and started my own company, Fairway Asset Management. And so been here ever since.
That's fantastic. And in case you're wondering, like I asked him, so did you name your company after golfing? And he said yes.
Yeah.
In fact, we had a great game of golf together, and we're talking about the different
Was
things
it a great game, Aaron? Was that a great game?
Time with you was great. The golf, maybe not so much, but we had a good time.
Yeah.
And right. I mean, we had a couple of Scotties that we
did have a good time.
But we had a great time. And so we were talking about different things that our homeowners and our clients go through all the time. And so I thought it'd be great to bring Tim on to talk to us about a couple of things. And one of those things is, what do you do when you sell an appreciated asset? So you as homeowners, we've seen prices go up over the last 10 years. I mean, phenomenally. And so you may have bought a property for $700,000 and now it's worth 2.1. And, when you sell that, what do you do with that money? And what if you can't get that number that you were hoping for? Let's say it's 2.1 or 2.2 and you only get 2 million. So Tim, talk to us about some of the strategies that you've helped clients use to, whether it becomes taxes or investments, like walk us through that counsel.
Yeah, so this has actually been a huge change ever since this last spike in real estate since COVID. All of a sudden, prices have gone crazy. So I originally am from the Bay Area, and we saw in the Bay Area was there was just a mass exodus, people taking advantage of the appreciated asset that they have in their real estate and leaving, wanting to leave the Bay Area, moving to places like Texas and Nashville and Idaho, and really taking that equity and then paying cash for a house somewhere else, and then maybe starting a new chapter of their life that they were wanting to start. And the appreciation in their house enabled them to start a life that they didn't think that they were able to start for probably another 10, 15, 20 years down the road. So that's one thing that I've seen happen is so much for so many people, their house has become their biggest asset.
Hmm?
And unless they sell that house, that equity really isn't doing them much good.
Yeah.
But if they can sell and move into a different market that's less expensive, all of a sudden they can take advantage of that. So what we do is everything we do starts with a financial plan, and we show our clients how that asset can impact the life that they want to live. So what I've seen is a lot of people are getting stuck, especially because we've kind of peaked in prices and the market has softened a little bit. Yet clients still have the peak price in their mind. And what I've seen is sometimes cutting the sales price by 100,000 or 200,000, it might make a huge impact on getting the sale done for their property, but it actually might not make a huge impact on their overall financial plan. And so that's why I think the financial plan is such a great starting point to see what are you actually trying to do? What's the life that you want to live? What are the things that you want to accomplish, whether it's charity, giving back to community, or hobbies? What are those things that you actually want to do? And how much is that going to cost to do it? And then so we just kind of back into a number to get that done and figure out what kind of resources they need to live the life that they want to live.
And so when you're looking at something like that and you see, let's say, and it's very realistic in Orange County to sell a, $2.1 million house,
Yeah.
and then move out of state and buy
Yeah.
the $1 million house.
Exactly.
You're left with a lot of money, a
Yep.
lot of cash. What kind of process do you do next? Do you talk to them about their investment strategy? Do you talk to them about just sitting it in a savings account? Like ultimately, they want to recoup that money, right? They feel like they lost out on $100,000. What are some of the scenarios that you've actually proposed and seen work?
Well, the first thing we talk about is because some people are very well prepared for the potential tax bill that they have coming after this appreciation. Other people don't really understand how the taxes on their primary residence works. So the first thing we start with is what are you going to end up with after taxes? And so most people know that you have this exemption as a primary homeowner, that as a married couple, if you've lived in the house for 2 of the last 5 years, the first $500,000 of gains is free of tax. Everything over that is subject to a long-term capital gains tax rate. So then the first thing we'll do is help them figure out, okay, what is this potential tax bill? And for some people, that could be a large tax bill, could be several $100,000 that they might owe in taxes from the sale of their primary residence. The first thing we want to do is we want to set that money aside where it's safe, um, and it's ready come tax time to pay the bill. And so right now we're fortunate where interest rates are. There are very good places to park your money for your tax bill that you can earn a decent rate of return. As of the time of this podcast, you can get over 5% on your money for just parking it. And so that's the first thing we'll do is figure out what that tax bill is going to be. And then we earmark your tax money so we know it's ready come April of the following year to pay the tax bill.
And so that's a good timeline. If you sell your house in 2024,
Yeah.
and it's any time that year, you're going to get the proceeds.
Yep.
You're going to hold on to that money.
Yep.
And you need to invest that money wisely in a short-term investment so that when the taxes come due April 15th next year, that you're willing, able, and ready to pay that. right?
Exactly. And why give the IRS, although they're just, I'm sure, a group of wonderful people, why give them the money to earn the money when you can be earning it yourself? So we park the money, have it ready, and then, for most people that can be 10 to 15 grand in interest you can earn while you're just having it sit there, instead of having them make the money by paying it now.
You're just strategizing what to do with that money before you actually have to pay the tax.
Oh, Todd, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you on your
Oh,
microphone.
sorry.
There we go.
I think he muted me. I was coughing earlier.
Oh yeah.
No, so you're basically strategizing what to do with the money before you have to pay the taxes.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
So and everything we do is we think in terms of kind of in buckets. For that's your liquid safe bucket. That money's got to be safe, though you don't want to take any risk with your tax money because that bill is not going to go away. So that's one bucket. And then the other bucket, after we do the financial plan, what's the longer term bucket? If this is money they need to live off of right now, we might be managing that different than someone that might not be touching it for 20 years. So that's why everything we do really starts with a plan to figure out, okay, what are you trying to accomplish?
What are capital gains rates right now, and do they fluctuate based on income? That's a general question I get.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, for Californians, you've got a few different items that you're going to pay when it comes to capital gains rate. First is you're going to owe, again, if you have a gain for a married couple over $500,000, those are the people that are going to be subject to a capital gains tax. And if you're single, it's over $250,000 gain. So assuming you have more than that, then there's a federal capital gains tax rate that, depending on your income and what your capital gains rate is, it can be as high as 20%. But on top of that, if you're a high income earner and you have over $250,000 of modified gross income, then there's this other 3.8% of net investment income tax that they're going to owe on top of that federal gains, or federal capital gains tax rate. But then as Californians, we have one more, it's not cheap to live here. I think we all know that. But capital gains is another thing that some states don't have the capital gains like we do. The way California handles your capital gains is it's just taxed at your ordinary income tax bracket. So there's not a separate tax bracket like the federal has for your capital gains tax rate. California treats it just as your ordinary income, and that can be as high as 13%. So when you're adding your California income tax bracket, the potential for the net investment income tax, and your federal tax, you could be paying anywhere from 34 to 37% of your gain in total taxes. Wow. And now if you're a low income tax earner or you don't have a huge gain, it can be significantly less than that, but that's kind of the high end for people to just ballpark figure.
Yeah, so on the high end, you're pushing close to 40%.
Yeah, it probably won't be quite there, but you're getting close to it.
Yeah. Wow. And you file again both of these at in your tax return. Yep. And then you owe that money at that time.
Yep.
And it's the gain. So in theory, you should have the full amount of cash of the gain in hand.
Yes.
And then it's, using all of that deposited somewhere, earning interest so that you can then offset this percentage.
Exactly. So,
yeah. Okay.
Now I will say there's one other thing I want to add. Because if some of your clients might be older, maybe they don't need the money, or maybe they're sick, there's this thing that people is a huge tax advantage, and that's called a step up in cost basis.
Yeah.
And so you guys are familiar with this, but maybe some of your listeners are not familiar with how this works. But in California, this is one of the few benefits we have in California. For many states that are not community property states, you'll get a step up in cost basis. And what that means is, say your house is now worth 2.1 million. You paid 700,000 years and years ago. If you're to sell that house right now, you'd have that gain, the difference between 700,000 plus your exemption of 500,000. And the difference between that and 2.1 million is taxable. With a step up in cost basis, this happens after the first spouse dies. So when your first spouse dies, it's as if that $2.1 million house was purchased the date of that death. So their cost basis then goes from 700,000 to 2.1 million. So if the surviving spouse turns around and sells the house, they will owe no capital gains tax on that property.
Mm.
And a lot of people think that it's both spouses dying, but that's not true in a state like California where it's community property. It's when that first spouse dies is when you get that step up in cost basis.
Yeah.
So there's really some planning to be done around that. If you're older and you don't really need the money, you can really save your spouse or your heirs a significant amount of taxes by just waiting and passing on the house instead of selling it.
Mhm.
And I've seen people make this mistake. We just ran into a new client, 87 years old, did not need the money, had an investment property, sold the property, is going to end up paying $700,000 in taxes.
Mm.
And he didn't even need the money. If he had just waited until he passed the property, his heirs would have got $700,000 more if he had just waited to take advantage of that step up in cost basis. So that's a big planning deal, that step up in cost basis.
Yeah. Well, and just so our listeners know, those letters usually are required by your CPA that state what that new value is.
Mhm.
So it's called a date of death appraisal, or a date of death opinion of value. And, depending on your CPA, sometimes they want a full blown appraisal at the time to justify it. I know we've had a lot of CPAs ask us as realtors to do an in-depth analysis, and we provide a report with a letter that has satisfied many CPAs. So that's something that we've done.
Yeah.
Well, and you do quite a bit of that business, right? Because you deal with a lot of probate type sales.
Yeah, we do a lot of probate.
Yeah.
So we're often asked to provide that kind of information
Yeah.
For clients. But you're right in that when a spouse dies, is that it creates that new stepped up basis. And then if that value continues to climb, that second, if the surviving spouse eventually sells it, they aren't taxed on the full gain, just the new gain, based on the new stepped up base value, the value.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which can be, because of the run we've had, that just can be a really big advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We have a client right now whose wife unfortunately did pass, and he's called me and asked for that letter so that he can put it in his file and have it when he chooses to sell, because it'll greatly affect his tax basis.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question, Tim, as we move on here. Those capital gains, we've got stepped up basis. What strategy are you seeing most effective right now on some of the other questions that we get? And you might get this question too. We have people that say, you've got so much equity, you should use that equity to go buy property, or you should use your 401k, or, you should use your retirement assets to go buy more property. And there's this whole idea of borrowing against equity, borrowing against 401ks to purchase additional investment properties. What's your theory? What's your thought? Have you seen it work? Have you seen it fail? Walk us through that, because that's something that we get asked a lot about.
Yeah, leverage is the greatest thing on the planet when things go well. And when it doesn't go well, it is truly the worst use of capital. And so it really, a lot of it really comes down to timing of what the overall market does. But really comes down to also how much risk do you want to take? And and you and I were talking about this on the golf course yesterday, Aaron, is for so many people, most people are more conservative than they realize. Most people are perfectly comfortable with risk when things are going well. But the moment things start going against you, all of a sudden you realize I'm really uncomfortable with the amount of risk I'm taking. And when you're leveraging your equity in your existing house or in your 401k, that just if it goes against you, you're going to get uncomfortable really quickly.
Yeah.
And so I'm pretty boring with the stuff I do. And so for me, that's outside of my comfort zone, but I've seen it work beautifully for people who are more aggressive and comfortable with that risk. But someone who's not comfortable, they're going to get uncomfortable really quick if it goes against them.
I agree. We've seen that happen. During COVID, they had removed some of the penalties. Remember that people could pull from a retirement account to purchase property?
Yeah.
And it used to be penalized if you pulled too early or whatever. But I had clients that literally bought properties during COVID, because they had removed that restriction. Is that been put back into place? Can people still borrow without penalty against
I
their
know
own
there's
retirement?
as far as I know, there's a first time home buyer stipulation where you can take that out, but beyond the first time home buyer, I don't know of a where you can take it out for home purchases. It's always a first time home purchase. And by the way, those are the people I'm talking about. That the timing was perfect, so they're thrilled with their leverage play there when if they bought right in the middle of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
But for people buying right now, going fast forward in a few years, I don't know that they're going to be as happy with that move.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and in our opinion too, we've given this out to many people, is that if you're buying just for a short run, hoping that you're going to make money in the next 2 to 3 years, not a good reason to buy,
Yeah.
kind of ever.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes the market is so great that it's a phenomenal move that you made to buy, and you hold it for
Right.
3 years and you double your money. By and large, though, real estate doesn't appreciate that fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's for the average home buyer. We're not talking about the investor who's flipping
Right.
properties. Yeah.
True.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So you live here in Southern California.
Yep.
You relocated from Northern California. As you know, most of my clients are from Southern California.
Yep.
But you and I are both from the Bay Area.
That's right.
And so shout out to Hayward High class of 1993. Woohoo! Right? And you're from
You
up
got a lot
there.
of shout outs going today.
You know, we like to shout out. People like that. And so when you moved to Southern California, did you see any difference in people's perception of money?
Oh boy, I don't know if your audience is Bay Area people, but you're gonna get me in trouble if that's the case. What I have noticed is there is a boy, this is I'm putting myself out there right now.
We're
There's
all
a
putting ourselves out there.
Yeah, I spent my entire life in the Bay Area, and then we dropped our youngest daughter off to college back in 2020 during COVID. A week later, we bought a property out in the desert in La Quinta, thinking it was going to be a vacation home. And we thought we'd spend the winters there and then the summers in the Bay Area. And we get down there, and once I was down there, I never wanted to go back to the Bay Area. And so we ended up selling in a year later in the Bay Area. And now we're actually going to be selling in the desert and be full time in San Clemente. But what I noticed is the difference in people down here, both in La Quinta and down in Orange County, where I am in San Clemente. People are just lower key. There's such a focus on money and success in the Bay Area that I really feel like people are stressed, that the pace is so extreme to get ahead. The cost of living is expensive. Not that the cost of living is not expensive down here. Obviously it is, but the Bay Area is just, it seems like more of a grind to me. And so what we've really enjoyed down here is just when we pass people on the street, they're looking you in the eye, they're saying hello. They just seem to be more laid back. And so I think people are more focused on the money, at least where I was. The focus was on money and getting ahead, which causes pressure and stress when that's your main focus. That's my experience.
Well, Todd, you just dropped off your daughter in New York.
Mm-hmm.
I think you kind of feel that same atmosphere.
Yeah.
And Tim, that's reality.
Yeah.
Like different areas have different pressures.
100%.
I sensed it the same. And I think it's still there. Like we have pressure to perform. We all want to make money. We want to succeed, but the intensity is different. My sister lived in San Jose for years, and then she ended up moving to Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And when she comes back to visit here, her main thought is, I feel like there's such a spirit of like we can accomplish new things here.
Yeah.
Not like we're trying to, beat the pavement and make as much money as we can, but we're entrepreneurial. We have like aspirations. We can start things. And I sense that in Orange County.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that this is a place where a lot of business owners start things.
Well, and I just, the sense of community down here is a noticeable difference. It just, I really feel like people look out for each other. That's a big difference is people are kind of concerned about in the Bay Area, from my experience, is just they're focused on what they're trying to do, and they're just such a community focus down here. It's
Yeah.
very refreshing. It reminds
Yeah.
me, I feel like I'm going back in time. I
Yeah.
didn't grow up in the 50s, even though maybe my bald head looks like I did, but from what I hear, the 50s was quite pleasant. And that's what I feel like when I'm walking through town in San Clemente, that's what I feel like it must have been like.
Yeah.
You're living in Mayberry, huh?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Well, and that's just everywhere you move is going to have a different feel. And you mentioned this, and Todd and I really specialize in sellers moving out of state.
Hmm.
We have helped probably 100 families
Mm-hmm.
over the last couple of years leave California to go to a greener pasture.
Yeah.
In their book, in their chapter, in their life, it's something that they're looking forward to. Very few of them leave because they have to.
Right.
And we hear those same things. We've left because we want community. We left because it's a little slower pace of life. We've left
Right.
because it's more affordable. And so people are going to do that. The issue with Todd and I in selling real estate is we're only in California.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm licensed in Tennessee, so I represent a lot of the buyers there. But by and large, our clients, California.
Mhm.
But correct me if I'm wrong, Tim. You don't care where the clients live that you're serving.
No, I've my clients. I kind of everyone started in the Bay Area, but I have clients all over the country. My farthest client away is in Ireland, so I can work remotely, and they can be anywhere. But I think
Nice.
that's a move that's going to continue. You guys are
Yeah.
seeing and helping people relocate. I don't think, especially with the run up, it just people can go for a slower pace, take their equity, move into a more affordable um, market, and really start living the life they want to. And then the other thing, we just talked about our kids, is how in the world are our kids going to afford to buy here and to grow up here? So for the people moving out of the area, maybe their kids went to college out of the area and they followed their kids. That for those people, maybe they're setting their kids up for a little easier path and trying to afford this expensive lifestyle here in Orange County or the Bay Area or wherever they are. It's just so expensive here.
Yeah. Well, and with expense, cost of food, cost of gas, cost of insurance.
Everything.
What are some strategies right now if somebody calls you up and says, "Hey, Tim, uh, love you. Thanks for being on the show. I like what you're saying. I want to get started." Like what you said, you do a needs analysis. Walk us through that process so that our listeners can get an idea of really what they're missing out on. Because unless you are proactively in the business world of finance and money, you don't even know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And so what are some of the things that come up in those initial meetings to really for our listeners be like, "Oh, I should be thinking about that."
Yeah.
What are some of the questions you ask?
Well, that's the first thing we do is I always start out with just a free consultation. If someone wants to sit down and just have a conversation, I'm a very low pressure person. So I always start with a conversation and see if I'm a good fit for them and vice versa. They have to be a good fit for us as well. But just talking about, a lot of people don't pay attention to their money. And so, one of the first questions I'm going to ask, it's one of the biggest variables in every financial plan is a client's spending. And so that's one of the first questions I ask is, what's your monthly burn rate? How much do you need every month to maintain your lifestyle? And so far, 100% of the time, they'll give me a number. And I said, okay, great. Now I want you to do me a favor, go back and I want you to pull 6 months of bank statements and just take an average to see what your actual spending was. 100% of the time, people are spending more than they think they're spending.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is what happens when you're not paying attention to your finances. It's reactionary. And so what I'm trying to help people do is be proactive with their finances. So get a good feel of what you are spending every month, but what you need to spend every month going forward. And if you're spending $10,000 a month, what do you need saved so then you can eventually stop working? So that's the planning process is all about figuring out what people need to have saved to maintain the lifestyle that they want to. The second part of that is actually setting goals. So I'm always been I'm a sports guy, always been involved with sports. So for me, I've always been goal oriented. Not everyone's goal oriented, but when it comes to your finances, what are you actually working towards? Such as retirement. If the kids are not already in college, you haven't paid the tuition yet. So setting up those kind of goals to see how you're going to pay for them. Maybe it is picking up and moving out of the area. That's considered a financial goal. Talking about these big things in your life that you want to accomplish, and that have some sort of financial or finances attached to them. Talking about goals and things they want to accomplish. That's really what the planning process is all about.
Hold
Did I
on,
just
let's pause.
freeze?
Your face did freeze, but you're back now.
The audio
Okay.
was fine
I,
though.
I saw I saw I was unstable there for a second.
Yeah, the audio is fine, but
Okay.
you did your face freezed. So it was a good look though. It wasn't like one of those weird ones. So you're okay. You're okay. So we do an analysis. We look at the expenses, then we set the goals, and then how do you I mean, most people are not money savvy.
Yeah.
They just aren't. Like you said, they spend more than they realize. They think
Yeah.
that they're earning income, and so it's just like I got money in my bank account. It looks like I'm okay,
Yeah.
and that's about the kind of litmus test. Is I got more than zero.
Right.
I'm
Right.
good. Like that's, and as we know, that's not a way to build wealth.
Right.
So setting the goals, and then do you start with after that? I'm guessing that you go to the like risk assessment.
Exactly. So yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah. So that the first part is setting the goals and then letting them know how much they need to either, maybe they already have enough to live the life they want to live. Other people, if they don't have enough, then we'll tell them, okay, this is how much you got to be saving every year to get to where you want to be. And then we can run different scenarios. If a house is coming into play, like they're thinking about selling the house, we'll put that into the plan and say, okay, if you sell at $2 million, this is how much you're going to net. You sell at 1.9, this is how it's going to affect the plan. We run just different scenarios because all of those change the plan. But after we run the plan, then we talk about risk. And so one of the things we do is to get a really good feel of how much risk you want to take. We take your current value of your portfolio and we stress test it back in the markets of '08 and '09, how it would have done. And then you get a feel, it's like, am I taking too much risk? Because when we take people through that and we show them how much they would have lost in if we have another '08 or '09, almost every person says, no, I don't really want to be taking that much risk. So then we just show them how to realign their portfolio to make sure they're not taking more risk than they want to be taking. And then after that, then we move into the actual the asset management. If people want us to take over their asset management for them, then everything we do is through Charles Schwab. So they open a Schwab account and we open the accounts for them there, and then we actually just do the day-to-day money management for them.
Okay, and that means that you manage their money.
Yeah,
they give you money.
So for people most the people we deal with are just, they don't want to deal with this. They want to live their life. They want to do what they want to do. They don't want to be hands-on. They want to just hand it over to someone they can trust. And so that's what we do. And we just manage the day-to-day for them.
That's great. And while I'm thinking about it, we do not give legal, financial, or real estate advice on this show.
Good disclaimer.
Hey, a little disclaimer there, because you're not our client. You might be a listener, but until we engage in our services one-on-one, this is just a couple of guys talking about money. At what point, it's been said that most people really have been counting on Social Security, and now they're getting of age where they're retiring, and they literally don't have enough money to survive. How can someone a little younger in their careers really, like, when should they get started? What should they do now so that when they're ready to retire at 70 or 75 or whatever the age is, that they just don't fall short on the financial side?
Yeah, I mean, best time to start was yesterday, but second best time is right now. And so one of the things we talk about in our process is values. What do you value in your life? What's important to you? Because if you don't have a good idea of what's truly important to you, this stuff you're spending money on, you think might add value to your life, but it's not adding any value. So I think people have to get very, very clear on what's going to make them happy and what's going to add value to their life, and then align their spending to what those values are. But I think too many people, they don't go through that process and really take time with their spouse to say, what are we trying to do here as a couple? What are we trying to do as a family? What's important to us? And if you don't have that, you're just going to spend money as things come along, you're just going to spend it. But if you have a plan and say, this is what we want to accomplish, our church is important to us, these charities are important to us, those are going to add value to our life, not the newest, fanciest car. It might be fun for the first couple of weeks, but that's going to impact your financial plan, and it's probably not going to bring you any happiness. So really getting on the page, if you're a married couple, getting on the same page is what you're trying to accomplish, what's important to you. I think that's a really important place to start. And sometimes we just don't have those conversations. And once you have those conversations, then you can kind of align your finances to what you value as a family.
Yeah. I actually taught a class this morning at my son's high school. He's graduated already, but they invited me back to teach this class on how buying and selling real estate works, like in real life. And so one of the questions that one of the girls asked, and I'm going to test it against your answer to see if I got it right.
Okay.
She said, so I'm 18. I can open an investment account. Obviously, buying a house in the long run can provide long-term wealth by owning real estate. Should we go that direction, or should we like start with stocks, or what should we do? Was kind of how it was left. How would you answer that question?
Yeah, I think that really just depends on, because the three of us have seen this over and over again. You have people who are real estate people, and you have people who are stock people. The stock people, they don't want to mess with tenants and renters and stuff like that. Real estate people, they don't want to mess with the ups and downs of the stock market. So I think part of it is just innate how you're wired. And I think that a lot of that's going to be how you were brought up. If you were brought up in a real estate family, you're probably going to lean more towards a real estate investment. If you're brought up with a family that's more stock oriented, you might just be leaning towards that. I don't think there's a right or wrong. I believe in both real estate and the stock market. I think it's really your comfort level of what you know, and I think that's where you got to start. But for that person, it's start. Either way, there's not a wrong answer. Both is a great start. Just you got to start doing something. And if they're starting thinking about that at age 18, that's fantastic. They're not going to need to worry about retirement.
That's true. That's true.
I'd like to know what answer you gave, Aaron.
What did I give?
I think we
exactly what Tim said.
Oh, really?
How did you know?
What Tim said. That's exactly what I would have.
Exactly what I would have said.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
No. What? In the scenario that we were talking about the ability to purchase investment properties, probably a little out of their reach at 18.
Right. At 18, yeah.
And so best to start with savings, and if you have a good advisor, to do little by little at stock investing. Because you may find that you're really good at it. I mean, you discovered in high school that was a lane that you wanted to go down. Right. So you knew in high school that this is what I'm doing. And so I encouraged them, like, hey, start small. You might be able to take 10,000 and turn it into 100,000, which then could become a down payment on a real estate asset that you can then hold long term for cash flow. And so I kind of stepped them into it.
No, that's good advice because they do need the down payment. They're probably not just going to all have in that chunk to go buy it. So using the market or bonds or CDs just to build that up for their down payment is a good suggestion. It wasn't advice. It wasn't financial advice you gave, because you can't do that. But
I'm not even financial.
It was a good suggestion.
Yes.
But I think a lot of what you're dealing with is really changing people's habits, wouldn't you say? In terms of how they're viewing money, how they're thinking in terms of how they manage money. You're the one that's helping them with managing money, but their thought process as it corresponds to it, I think, is what changes. And especially with the situation that Aaron was giving an example, that's great. Somebody who's 18.
Oh, the fact that they're thinking about that already is really great.
Because most of us, when we were 18, we weren't thinking about that.
No.
No, and I told him, I says, I opened a custodial account with my son. I gave him $1,000 when he was 17. And I said, look, let's play it together. You buy and sell stocks. I'll buy and sell stocks. Let's see if we can make some money. Yeah. And I ended up putting another 500 in there because he was doing great. And he's got over $2,000 in there now. Yeah. And he's still 18. And so,
well, and that's, this brings up a whole new conversation, which how we deal with our kids. So I'm dealing with the consequences of my mistakes right now is with my son. My son's my oldest, and I was very tough on him, strict. But now I don't need to worry about that guy. He's off in the real world doing fantastic. I don't need to worry about him. My youngest, on the other hand, she's my daughter and she's my baby, and was so easy on her. But now I'm paying the consequences because now she wants help with everything. And so how are we getting our kids involved with that conversation? I think you're smart, Aaron, getting your son involved with that process. It you don't realize when you're doing it the longer term effects that you're having on by getting them exposed to that and having that conversation, getting them involved is really important. Because if you just do everything for your kids, you're going to end up paying the consequences later.
You're going to continue to do everything for your kids,
Exactly.
including paying for all their bills.
Exactly.
Which we have seen time and time again
Yep.
in relationships and in houses.
In houses, yeah.
And we've had clients that have sold properties with adult children that still are with them. And it is a reality too. Like you said, in Southern California, it's not a surprise because they can't afford to be out there on their own.
Yeah.
But hopefully, walking them through the value of money and the cost of things,
yes,
is a real eye opener.
Well, it's funny. I have those conversations. I mean, I've had so many of those conversations with clients about helping their adult children out. I guess it just never goes away, no matter how old they are. You want to help them. And what I have repeated over and over and over until I'm blue in the face is the best help you can give your kids sometime is not help them. Sometimes they have to fail as an adult. I'm sure I know I've failed miserably. I've lost so much money over the years, and that has given me the wisdom to be where I am today.
Yeah.
If someone just tried to help me and take that away, I wouldn't have the wisdom. So sometimes the best help you can give your adult children is let them fail. Don't help them at all.
Yeah. Well, and part of what we're doing here is to offer hope for people. And so no matter where you're at in your financial journey, whether or not you own a house, want to buy a house, want to sell a house, want to leave California, want to buy an investment property in California, want to do a 1031 exchange. We didn't even talk about that today. But Tim and I have really hit it off, and I believe he'd be a good asset for you guys as you try to figure out and navigate your financial journey. And like Tim said, he's learned the school of hard knocks in many ways about how to protect assets and how to assure the safety of assets. And so one of the big things that, as we come to a conclusion here, is we have had to counsel many of our most senior clients, and I'm talking in age, against scams.
Yeah.
Against scams.
Which they're all over the place now.
Yeah, they are, right?
Yeah.
They're all over the place. And one of the big things that we recognize is that people prey on elders.
They do.
To steal their money.
Yep.
And they are predators. They are criminals.
Yep.
And if you are listening to this and you're older, or you have a parent that's older and $15,000 disappeared, you better ask what happened, because most people that have been scammed are ashamed.
Yeah, they're embarrassed.
Embarrassed to tell.
And they're embarrassed, and they don't ask for help. And the next thing you know, they've stolen $200,000 or $1 million. And it can be completely devastating to them and to your family. So, Tim, any advice on that as we kind of close out our show today?
Yeah, and actually, I saw this with a client just as a client's parent. Just 6 months ago, they got scammed out of $60,000. A person had them go buy gift certificates and then hand over cash to them. It's just, when you hear the stories, like, how does someone fall for that? But they do. I think that generation is more trusting. Our generation and younger, we've grown up, but just there's scams, and we've learned to be very skeptical. But that generation is just a more trusting generation. And because of that, they're more susceptible to falling prey to scams. And so what I think is, as people get older, they don't want to admit or get their kids involved. But I think just getting a child involved just with their finances, or having an advisor, this is not meant to be self-serving, although it's going to sound self-serving. When I see my older clients, if I can see when money goes out the account, when I see that happen, I will pick up the phone. Hey, what's going on here? Because I've seen clients spend money that is out of their ordinary. And so I will pick up the phone and say, listen, is everything all right? What's going on here? So just whether it's a professional advisor or a family member, just that you have someone else just with eyes on what you're doing, because these these scammers are getting more and more sophisticated. And so just having someone else with another set of eyes on what you're doing is just another safety net so you don't get taken advantage of.
Well, we appreciate your time, Tim. And as always with our guests, we want people to reach out to you and to get in touch with you if they have additional questions. What's the best way for someone to reach out to you today, right now?
Well, that's great. I do appreciate you guys having me on the, I guess it's more than just a bald thing. I think you guys are great human beings, and I feel honored to be a part of this. But if anyone wants to get a hold of me, the best way to go is just on my website, which is fairwayam.com, FAIRWAYAM.com. That's short for asset management. If they go there, they can actually book a call. The link to my calendar right on the website. They can go on and book a call with me just if they want to have an initial conversation. So that's one way is the website. You can also email me at tsmith@fairwayam.com. That's my direct email. Or you can call our main office number, which is 925-553-7487. Still a Bay Area number, but it does get down here. So eventually I'm going to need a 949 or an area code down here from what I'm told. But those are the best ways to get a hold of me.
Great. Well, I know anybody who wants to give Tim a call, you can just rewind that section and you can listen to that. Also, we're going to put that information in our show notes.
Put that information in our show notes so you can scroll down and take a look at it.
Any other questions, Todd?
No, I think he's covered it all. I've just been soaking it all in. So I appreciate you, Tim, joining us today, and it's a lot of great information that you've passed on.
I think what you guys are doing is it's obvious that your team is a level above most teams. And what I've talked to, whether it's new people making money or people are looking to make more money, what I always tell them is there's only one way to make more money, and that's provide more value. And what you guys do through your podcast and just all of the stuff, you are constantly giving back to your community, and that's why you've put yourself in such a successful position. So keep doing what you guys are doing. I admire what you're doing.
Thank you, Tim. I will not forget your website because I like golfing in the morning, which is I like to hit the fairway in the AM.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I didn't even think of that.
Right. And I look forward to spending more time with you, and we look forward to hearing the success stories as we continue to work together with clients, and as people give you a call and say, hey, I heard you on the Bald Brothers team. So welcome to the club. Thanks for being part of the Bald Brothers Home Sellers Advantage podcast and video broadcast today. You have heard it here. We have ways, we have strategies, we have people that can help you out. And if you are looking to buy or sell a home, you know what we do, Todd?
We sell homes.
Yes, we do. So give us a call. You can reach out to us at 833-305-BALD, 833-305-2253, or head over to our website at baldbrothers.tv. So we'd love to hear from you and talk to you soon. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and God bless. Thanks for listening to the Home Sellers Advantage. The Bald Brothers team is a licensed DBA of Real Broker, licensed by the California Department of Real Estate, number 020222092. Again, we do not give any real estate, legal, or financial advice. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can call us at 833-305-BALD, or you can reach us online at baldbrothers.tv. Equal housing opportunity.